Dude, Insignia's drop rates suck. But it kind of doesn't really matter. Let's talk about it. Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Chrono here, and welcome back to the channel. So today, we're in Crystal of Atlan, and I wanted to talk about the Insignias, the current situation of them on the market, and why it sucks, but it doesn't really matter all that much. It's a very weird place to be in as far as Insignias are concerned. I wanted to go ahead and give my 2 cents on the situation to kind of give a bit of a broader perspective on the matter, because it's kind of difficult to see that when you're wrapped up in the fact that something isn't going the way that you want it to. And I've been there, and I've had those feelings beforehand, but when I look at things more objectively, it's like, this doesn't really matter, but I kind of don't like that it's a whole mess. But either way, our intro still sucks, so apologies on that. Just know that we had a goal. We're working towards our 15K goal, and I'd much appreciate it if you were to subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up with the content that we're releasing. Cool? All right, let's go ahead and get started. So insignias. First off, if you don't know what insignias are slotted into your gear. They're essentially an extra piece of power that you can add to every single character. Now you can see in my gear, I have very, very, very weak insignias. I have like a couple of purple insignias. I have one pink insignia that you get like as a part of a pack or something that you buy. And then everything else is slotted in blues. So why don't I have better insignias? Well, if you actually take a look at the trade market right now, you can see that the better insignias really don't exist, aren't available for purchase. Probably thinking, well, why? Like, why aren't people selling insignias, so on and so forth? Well, the reality is the drop rate for insignias is kind of bad, but also the way the insignias are designed is you kind of need more than you actually have. So insignias slot into your gear, and the thing about insignias is they also rank up by using insignias to level them up. So I'll give you an example. So we take a look at this purple insignia here, right? It's currently level 1. It goes up to level 2. At the moment, it's giving me 3% crit damage. If I were to click upgrade, what's necessary to upgrade this insignia is not only a copy of this purple insignia, but 2 other insignias of the same quality. This continues forward when you're trying to upgrade insignias, where you need copies of the insignia along with upgrades or tiers of that insignia the same way. So inherently, to get the most power out of a lot of insignias, you have to use more than just the insignia itself. You have to use other insignias to boost up that insignia. So why is that a problem? Well, Crystal of Atlan right now, at least in the West, is pretty new. We haven't had the game for a very long time, meaning we haven't had a lot of time to farm. People also are learning a lot about the game. They may not be farming effectively or efficiently. People have this mindset about the whole energy system where they get so turned off that they don't really think about what they can be gaining with that system if utilized properly. If you're looking at the currency value of a lot of things we do, everything really boils down to efficient insignia farming. That's kind of where you are. You're just progressing your character through every means you possibly can. And then if not that, everything else basically goes into the farming of insignias, whether it be for your character or to sell on the trade market. Now, I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, it doesn't really matter. Why is that? So collectively, at least until as of the most recent patch, you have not needed a single insignia to complete any content whatsoever. It's mostly just been a flex. So as you can see, that you saw the gear that I'm currently using, right? So at the moment, it's a plus 15 weapon, plus 13 helmet, plus 13 necklace, and everything else is plus 12. To be perfectly honest, all of my gear was plus 12 for a very, very long time. I got the weapon of 15 literally just yesterday. I got my necklace transferred over, that was plus 13, and I plus 13 my helmet. So this is all very recent upgrades, but for a very long time, I was plus 12 essentially everything. Everything was set at plus 12 as opposed to being at, you know, the plus 13s and plus 15s and so on and so forth. And I was there for a very, very long time. That mixed with, you know, my plus 20 circuits and leveled up going for, you know, different substats and things of that sort. And of course, the outfit that I have along with the insignias with the outfit, since you can get those for brocades directly from the shop after you've done pulled. So, and with all of that, even not even needing all of that, I was able to complete every piece of content that was in the game up until the most recent piece of content that was released, which is the legend difficulty X chest. Now, this does require a very, very, very skilled group of individuals to be able to complete this content at my current power level. At a higher power level, those who have whaled or spent money in the game, who push their characters super high, they're going to find a bit of an easier time. Just because not only are they going to be able to do more damage to burst down bosses much easier, more effectively, they're also going to be able to survive a bit better with having more upgraded gear. Now, this doesn't provide any extra reward. This is just for ranking purposes. The rewards themselves are the same as the elite hex chest. So realistically speaking, this is just a, if you can do and want to rank, then you do something like this. But if not, you're not missing out on anything by completing elite as standard. Now, of course, I want to do legend because that's just how I am. I like doing difficult content for the sake of the difficulty and the challenge. However, it's nothing that's absolutely necessary. Realistically speaking, there's nothing in the game that requires us to have these insignias. So why is this a problem? Well, I mentioned this with a friend of mine. We were talking about it, and the reality is it's player perception. Everyone likes the feeling of progressing their character. If they're going to put time into something and they're going to receive something in return, feels good, right? It doesn't feel great to farm for 2, 3, 4 days and see nothing out of everything you've put into it. So for you to take all of the account stamina, all of the resources you get, and you attempt to farm something and get 0 drops, doesn't feel great. Now, from a balance perspective, let's say you take all that energy and for 5 days you farm and it feels terrible. And on that 6th day, you finally get 1 item. Now, from an efficiency perspective, because that item of how much it's worth, you actually are in the positive. Like you lucked out, you gained more, but you still farmed for 5 days and got nothing. And that feels terrible. The reality of the situation is that you need to look at this from more of a player perception side of things, even with keeping with the balance. To be perfectly honest, looking at insignias, you could drastically decrease the power insignias have, or in some cases increase the power bosses have. I know some people have gone that route and say, oh, make bosses more powerful, so the insignias would be required, and then drastically boost how much insignias are worth. Oh, look at that. There's a Steel Chimera up, so anyone who needs cryo is available. But you could boost that amount of power for players, right? It would be fine for bosses to be more difficult or for to be stronger if you required insignias and there were more insignias available. This is going to continue to be a problem for quite some time because we're early on. A lot of players don't have these insignias. They don't have their insignias yet. So over time, this issue will take care of itself, but it's going to feel really bad for a long time until it does. And you can alleviate that by simply boosting the drop rates and tuning back some of the damage, or even tuning up some of the HP. Are people going to complain about like health gate or about power creep and so on and so forth? Yeah, probably. To be honest, you're always going to find someone that's going to complain about these different individual things. However, from the player's perspective, if they're seeing more loot come in, they're able to, again, adjust and build their characters up. For example, like as it stands right now when it comes to insignias, I'm pretty much going to ignore everything in between, and I'm going to be chasing after my gold insignias to the best of my ability. Why? Because they're so, like, you don't see them so often, right? They're so rare as it is that, like, I'm already pushing through and I'm doing perfectly fine with my content. Might as well just go ahead and save up the money and snatch the insignias I'm going after as I can when they pop up. Granted, does it happen often? No. It's surprising that this insignia is here. Honestly, it's only here because it's cryo and most people don't use cryo. But it's surprising that there are even insignias here for us to get. I've been searching for Crag for a while and unfortunately I haven't been able to get a hold of it. And it's a really powerful insignia for, for berserkers and for starbreakers. But realistically speaking, do I absolutely need this insignia? No. Like, so, I mean, like, I've not only been able to complete content, carry content for the average player. Granted, not whale levels, but we still get through content pretty easily as far as things are concerned. Are we, doming legend hex chest? No, not at all. It's intended to be insanely difficult. Bosses have 5 times the amount of HP they usually have and deal almost double the damage they normally do, which is insane to have to survive. But at the end of the day, it doesn't actually affect my enjoyment of the game at all, just my perception of it. And the reality is that from a game dev's perspective, that's important for a lot of people. You can tell people all day of the week, hey, you don't really need this, but they kind of want it, right? People are going to chase after things. You don't really play games like this not to try to boost up your power. The one question I hear all the time is, hey, how did you get 47k power? This number doesn't mean anything unless you're going for rankings, but this is the first thing people look at all the time. So it's obvious that this is important to quite a few players. So regardless of whether it's good or not, the perception is there and you kind of have to align with it. As far as insignias go, I do believe they probably should be buffed as far as drop rates go. At the very least, this was a perspective a friend of mine had, or a fellow content creator by the name of Shen, we'll probably leave a link in the description, is to at least boost the rate of the lower tier insignias, of the purple and pink insignias. These should be pretty plentiful. It's fine if these are really difficult to get a hold of. Like, make these super, super rare. That's totally okay. But for players to have access to a lot of these pink insignias, these purple insignias as kind of stepping stones, going towards the better content would feel a lot better overall. Would it make them be worth less money? Sure, absolutely. People would be making less money, but I'm pretty sure a lot more people would be very, very happy to be able to give their character a good surge of power. And that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. If there's anything else that you think would be a better choice as far as these go, please let us know in the comments below. If you're playing over on CN, I'd love to know how the insignia market looks over there. I'm sure it's not nearly as bad as it is over here. But I mean, over time, keep in mind, over time, this is going to take care of itself to a certain degree. So the devs might just be waiting for something like that to happen. But I think that would be a mistake. I think realistically speaking, and not that you need to have a show of good faith to the players, but it's always a positive side of things for the dev team to show that level of compassion and understanding for players, that like, hey, look, dude, we want to feel good about getting stuff. Like, make us feel good about getting stuff. Be like, oh yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. These aren't as good as everything else, but hey, these are going to be good for you for now. Boost those drop rates themselves, right? Like, that's just kind of that sort of thought process and that mindset that fosters a positive interaction between players and dev teams that, realistically speaking, any live service game needs to succeed. So hope that happens. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm rambling on. Like if you enjoyed. So if you want to keep up with more, as always, thank you to the channel members. You guys are fantastic, and I appreciate every single one of you. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care, my friends. Peace out.